Hello and welcome to the now 22nd episode of the Bunker to Bunker podcast. Holiday season's coming up. We have a special thing out there for all our listeners. We have these custom Band-Aid stickers, whatever you want to call them. They're not Band-Aids, but they're the size of a Band-Aid. Miniature stickers out there. Happy to give some of these away to our loyal listeners and fans out there with the holidays and the new year coming out. So look out for some giveaways with these stickers. Got a nice whole bag of these made up. So yeah, definitely look out for those giveaways. But yeah, wrapping up the golf season for 2023 with the PNC Championship over the weekend. A great outlook into 2024 coming up on today's episode. So yeah, I'll let Josh kind of speak his mind, I guess.
Yeah, I guess Charlie Wood's only 14, so we have another 10 years and probably until he saves the tour.
I can take him. I can take him. Yeah.
So, I actually like just briefly on the PNC before we go in, is that I actually feel like this coverage this year wasn't as just Tiger heavy. Like, it wasn't just like in like your face. I mean, they obviously showed every shot of him, but it's just it's nice to see. They had some unfortunate weather with the rain and wind, but it was cool to see Sam Woods, Tiger's firstborn daughter, on the bag. So that was cool. And so I guess Team Woods did not win this year, so they're still looking for that leg up on the Thomases. But yeah, I mean, as you said, we're going into 2024. There's still mystery out there of what golf is going to look like. No one knows until December 31st. They might push back that date, but that's not really the purpose of this episode. This is to preview the majors. You know, the four majors: Masters, PGA Championship, US Open, and the Open are, the biggest we have in the sport. So we thought we would, before the calendar turns, to give you a little preview of each of two of the tournaments in part one, the Masters and PGA, and then we'll do part two with the US Open and the Open. So it's I guess the first to start out with you, Ethan, like how was your major season last year? Did you think it was good or bad? It seems like a while away from that. We just had our last one in July, but what are kind of your takeaways from last year? Or you hit any bets? Tell me your experience and stuff.
Yeah. I think actually no. I actually started the year picking the outright winner before the week started. John Rahm at the Masters and Brooks Koepka at the PGA. So I went 2 for 2 to start the year, and then as per usual, didn't hit Wyndham Clark or Brian Harmon in the subsequent two majors. But overall, it was a weird year because you look at the majors as a whole. You have like the Masters, with the whole weather situation, the storylines of Tiger and whatnot, withdrawing after the third round, these miserable conditions somewhat. You had Victor Hovland constantly on top of the leaderboard, Brooks Koepka there, here comes John Rahm. Masters was a great kickoff for the year. With the theme of weather, you can run right into the PGA. Brooks Koepka taking that, but that will clearly be overshadowed by Michael Block, still talked about.
Oh yeah.
Equal spotlight. Next year, I'd argue that every third word about a golfer is going to end with Block or Michael. So yeah, again, started kind of heavy with two really good majors. The U.S. Open, I won't want to say a letdown, but a little bit of a weird week out there in person. It's the jacket I'm wearing, actually. It's a nice blue thing. Wyndham Clark gets his first major done, but just so many talks about the golf course not being that difficult, that is very gettable. You'll forever talk about Wyndham's drive on 18, how he hits this thing 150 yards, swooping into the right, and it's in the middle of the fairway. So big talking point from that. Just huge talking points around that U.S. Open. And then you go into the Open Championship where you have Brian Harmon seemingly coming out of nowhere and playing good golf going into it, but you don't really think that he can go out there. And he just just lit it up. You know, the waggle, the whatever you want to call it, whatever his little hitch is in his swing. Yeah, so the year started off very strong, and then we just had just I don't want to call it like anomalies, you know, with Clark and Harmon, but just a little bit abnormal majors where some winners come out of nowhere. Obviously, Clark has won in the past, but you know Harmon just came out of left field. Reminds me
Yeah.
of when Gary Woodland won the 2019 U.S. Open out in Pebble Beach, which I was fortunate enough to be there. It's kind of one of those where, you know, in 10 years, people are going to forget about it. Don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case with Harmon, but a little bit of that like weird victory that no one really saw coming. And, you know, it's not like a memorable name that people are going to talk about. But yeah, overall, a fun major season, you know, ran into the Ryder Cup. Um, and just all those storylines with that. And it's just going to be overshadowed by Live Golf. We're not going to talk about that today, but just overshadowed by that. But yeah, Josh, curious your thoughts on everything I just said because that was a lot.
I think the U.S. Open had the potential to be an all-timer
Okay.
with, I think, Rory and Fowler. They were both in
Mm-hmm.
it, and Fowler, I think, from the start, he just didn't have it. Like
Yeah.
you know, I actually had a ticket on Fowler, but I wasn't rooting for him because of that. I just wanted him to win like a major, like regardless of who I had in there. You know, I think the Masters kind of was just a two-man show with Rahm and Koepka, and the PGA was Koepka and Hovland. But it's like I feel like now with the state of golf is like I think like you really need Tiger, like to really like maybe post like a top 20 or something or like complete because like
Mm-hmm.
the Masters he couldn't finish because it was dark, it was wet and windy and like he just couldn't, his body just couldn't hold up to walk um 72 holes. Harmon at the Open, so in like the one and done pool, I had Tommy Fleetwood to win and he just
Mm-hmm.
completely choked. Like just
Yeah.
he forgot how to play golf and so I could have won and I could have won probably some more serious money than I did with him, but it's what it is. But I think this year, especially with Rahm going to live, like I think the storylines are gonna be even bigger from the golf media. But at some point, I just wanted to play golf. So that's kind of like my whole outlook is that I hope that we can just go back just to playing golf and care about like the course and the storylines that aren't about like just about like the players on like the course, not the off the course antics. So I guess we can just jump into the Masters. So we all know where the Masters is played. We don't have to dive deep into it. Augusta National in Georgia. The most beautiful course we have probably in golf. You know, we saw here that John Rahm won. He beat Koepka. So it's we've kind of seen a trend of people who have played well at the Masters who have won. So the last five winners are Rahm, Scheffler, Hideki, DJ, and Tiger. So I guess like Scheffler won probably in his second or third start there. So, but we've seen with Spieth always plays well. We saw that Phil Mickelson carded a 7 under in round four. He finished tied for second with Koepka. Patrick Reed was in the top five. Spieth was top seven after the first round. He was kind of just, I think it was a couple, I forget what holes, but he was kind of like out of it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe Fred Couples also made the cut there. So it's like, it's one of these tournaments where it's a small field. You feel like the history of it. And, if you're trying to pick like a Masters winner, like this course is all about like course history, So I think there's a lot of names and a lot of same guys that have played this course. I know that I think Tiger will steal like the headline if he can play, and Rory. I feel like those two guys are like the headline. If Rory can, finally win the Grand Slam. So I'm not the biggest like Rory guy. I kind of hope that he does it at some point. So those are kind of like I think if you're looking at it from a course perspective and also like a fantasy or betting perspective, like course history is pretty big. So those are kind of my thoughts on it. What are your thoughts? What are you kind of looking forward to before we hop in who we might think can steal the green jacket?
just as you said, just looking forward to just playing golf. And I hope that it doesn't. It seems like every major since um, the live announcement back, or like the merger back in June. I can't even think right now. Like the merger back in June, it's just always been live versus PGA. How did the live quote unquote stars size up against the PGA Tour stars or whatever? I just wish that there'd just be, put it aside. This is supposed to be this neutral meeting ground where, if you're still qualified and you play for live, you can come play against, players. Just shut up and play golf and just let the talking based on who plays well that week. That is the hope. That is the dream. In reality, it's not going to happen. I think that John Rahm needs to hire multiple PR people to keep him sane and not say something stupid during that week because he's going to get grilled like a burger that I'm frying on Saturday night. He is going to get absolutely swarmed with questions. Also, can't wait to see his dinner menu. Uh, Living in Spain myself, food is, it's okay. So I'm not the best, but I'm curious what Spanish traditions he cocks or cock. What's the word? Cooks up. Um,
Do you
so
have a prediction from living in
for the
Spain?
meal,
Like, is there something? Yeah, is there something that you think
so
will make the
he's.
menu?
I mean, there's obviously going to be jamon, which is ham, probably Iberian ham will be
Hmm.
there. If you want to go like traditional Spanish, you're going to get a paella, which is rice. You can do seafood, which would be shrimps, squid, mussels. You could do where I'm living, which is in Valencia. They do rabbit, which is a little bit different. Um, they're called patatas bravas, which is basically just potatoes and mayonnaise and a little bit of like a garlic aioli combined together. That's like your basic Spanish. Um, Obviously nice cheeses, wine, sangria.
Yeah,
There's really nothing that like that's probably the most Spanish thing you could get. Obviously, I'm curious if he's
yeah,
gonna do like a tapa style meal, or if we're gonna do something where it's like a really over the top impressive meal. Who knows? It's gonna be interesting how typical he wants to go because that's usually what you see is wherever they're from. It's just a
yeah.
typical dish.
I mean, Sky Scheffler just did cheeseburger sliders, so I mean,
Good for
he
him.
got pretty. He got very. I forget who like joked. Some people like joked about it, but if you want to get American, like just get some cheeseburger sliders. That's just what Sky Scheffler he
Barbecue.
wanted.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's interesting. I don't think so. We saw last year on number 13, the par five, the famous
Hmm.
dog leg left, that they extended the tee box to try to give more options. I guess make that more strategy, more of a harder tee shot. I don't, from my knowledge of doing the research for the show, I'm not of any knowledge that there are any major changes that us
Hmm.
fans and podcasters and like the media need to worry about. So I think that's kind of. I remember last year that was like a big thing with the
Hmm.
players and stuff. But it'll be interesting, I guess, as we get closer to the date about who can qualify and who doesn't and stuff. So it's in April, but April will come here
Hmm.
soon enough. So trying to think of any other kind of thoughts or anything. If you just want to kind of dive into predictions on maybe who's due or who's not. I guess maybe like before we go into like the Masters, um, like there are a lot of players that we have that haven't won a major that like at least from like a better myself trying to like go through who I think can win. Like I feel like we had Harmon and Clark who haven't won a major. It's like I think you have like the Xander, Cantlays, Hovlands, Finau, um, like I'm drawing a blank on anyone else or Max Homa. Like
Hmm.
it's like who like there's going to be some guy who hasn't won a major or someone that like Harmon or Clark who's like deep odds that win one of these. It's hard for like at like the Masters. For someone that like I think it's like kind of the true test of golf. I believe I think a lot of the winners come from like the top 10 of like the odds. I'm trying to think
Hmm.
off the top of my head. Like I knew like Tiger was I think sub plus two that like he was like in like the 1000s, I think, or maybe like early, like 22, 20 to win the Masters. So like even his Master wasn't a anomaly. I guess Willett was probably the anomaly of like the Masters to
That's the
win.
most recent anomaly you could ever think of
Yeah.
because that is so true.
So I'm just like so as like as we're talking like the Masters, like usually it comes from one of like the top players. Like John Rahm won what?
Mhm.
He won the Amex and then he won the Century. So he won like back to back. So like I think so like he had
And
those
the
wins.
Genesis, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Genesis. So he won 4 tournaments going into or he had 3 going into like the Masters, which is crazy. But that's another like kind of I think tip of the Masters. But I kind of want to hear your thoughts. Like who I don't know if you have like one single guy that you have to win before like the new year, but give us your gut if you had to predict right now on this fine December 18th day.
Like who I think is the one person to break their maiden when it comes to winning a major.
No, I guess we can talk about that maybe in like part 2. But I was trying to get at like with that segment was like because like usually like a guy doesn't just like break through at like a Masters. Like usually it's a guy that like we
Hmm.
all know. So like just give like in like your gut right now if you had like pencil in a name, put it in an envelope, and open it up.
Hmm.
You know, the Masters week. Like who is that guy that like you're writing down that like you think is gonna win right now?
To win the Masters. Ooh.
Yeah.
Um, that's a tough one because I think that, we're so far away that it's so hard. The Masters is one of those tournaments where it's so form based. It's one of those where course history is so dependent. It's such a big factor when you're looking at a prediction. So I think this is the hardest major to predict in advance because it's not like you're looking at, a new
Yeah.
course or a course that you only play once every 7 years.
Hmm.
But I guess I'll officially go on the record and say that my 2024 official Masters prediction winner will be Victor Hovland. I think that he will break his maiden first major of the year. I think he will get it done coming off of strong showing last year, just hung around and just couldn't get it done the final round, shooting 2 over. Just couldn't really mix it together. But when you look at the statistics needed to be successful, he checks all the boxes. The only, you know, potential issue, give or take, would be the short game, but crushes the ball off the tee, hits the ball straight. He hits every green you can think of. The putter's starting to come around. Very complete player. And I definitely think that we could see him go out, win 2 tournaments before the Masters starts, maybe. And I think that he will get the green jacket this year.
So Hovland, so since he's played every year, 2019 he wasn't there. 2020. Oh yeah, because he was the low M in 2019, so I won't count
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
2021 T21, 27th and tied for 7th last year. So looking
Hmm.
at his statistics, he gained strokes putting the last 2 years, and he was basically a net in around like the green. So
Hmm.
it is a good course for him around the green because there's not much rough. It's a lot of
Hmm.
the green side like runoffs, and again, as I said, like you have to. No one just plays the Masters for like the first time. That's what I don't understand. Ludwig Aberg is like plus like 2,800 to win the Masters. Like who is taking that? I sent that out like 2 3 like weeks ago. Might
Hmm.
be it might be the dumbest bet, and I'm fine being clowned for the guy that says that you know he's probably gonna win now since I'm saying this, but like
Yeah.
they just don't win. So I think the history of it helps. I got him at like plus 4,900 last year. So like
Hmm.
I like for so he does have the progression. I think he's going to be a very popular name. We won't make these our official picks because it's so like early, but just to get the like the juices flowing. But so a guy who I think this is a little bit of a biased pick. I'm going with the narrative here that he famously missed the cut last year. His boy Tiger, he made the cut because of him. He was embarrassed. Comments after you saw it emotionally on 18 when he knew that he missed the cut. Um,
Hmm.
you know, I think it's gonna be a biased pick. I'm maybe picking with my heart here. I think he's gonna make that comeback, and I think Justin Thomas will steal the jacket from John Rahm.
Okay.
He has finished here eighth and fourth. So, and people can be like, oh, like he knows, he has Tiger and Fred Couples that he does like a practice run with. I don't think that Tiger's telling him anything that of like his deep, dark secrets of like the Masters because Tiger wants to win too. He obviously probably knows some other tricks that other people know. His buddy Spieth has won once, and he basically is an automatic top 10 every year. So I think he didn't. At the PNC, he didn't play great, honestly, but it's a fun like hit and giggle with like your dad and Tiger and Charlie and other people. So I'm not even gonna like make that watching him that this is not my pick, but I think that he's going to make a comeback. I think everyone's going to pencil him in at the PGA that we'll get into next for many reasons, but I just think that he's a guy that is big into like the narratives. I think he keeps up with everything, and I think he just wants it more, honestly, and
Hmm.
it's kind of scary because I think with a Rory, like he's won it. He seemed like he wants it too much. And I think he needs to figure out his mindset, and I think JT's going to have the right mindset to win here. So he's plus 3,500. So I think if you think that JT is going to make a comeback or even like compete this year, I think is a good number. It's very pretty mature, but I put it in because I had a free $5 free bet that DraftKings gets when I lose every NFL parlay and stuff. So
Sure.
I was like,
Yep.
why not put it
Hmm.
on JT? But I guess I'll give you, since we just talked about it, like, is there out of like I guess you talk about like Finau, but like I think like Cantlay or Xander. I think Xander has played well here. I think that
Hmm.
like a Xander can be sneaky. He was kind of
Yeah,
one
of
of the
course.
guys that I like put down, because what it was the Hideki year. He put it in like the water on 16 and kind of just
Hmm.
ruined that tournament for everyone. But like he's someone that like has to eventually break through, you know. But
Yeah, and there's so many players that could easily be sneaky. Just looking at the odds here, oh my gosh, Ludwig Aberg is 22-1 right now to win the Masters. Like
strong time.
I I I don't get that. But like the perennial sneaky play, even though he's not sneaky at 18-1, will forever until eternity ends be Jordan Spieth just because of the course history. There's gonna be so much bias. Where is Phil even on here on the list? Phil is 100-1. That number will probably finish in the 70s, I'd argue, just biased purely based off of how he shot last year. Love seeing Daniel Berger on the list at 100-1. That guy's fallen off the face of the earth. One of my favorite golfers of all time. But in terms of some other sneaky plays, Tommy Fleetwood, he is just due to win on U.S. soil. It's just
Yeah,
been the thing for the past 5 years. 50-1 there. Minwoo Lee is sneaky at 65-1. Mm,
what?
trying to think if there's anyone else. Maybe
I
Fitzpatrick
mean,
at 40-1.
yeah. Um, Trying to think who else on top. I mean, like Reed has. I mean, Patrick Reed's always. I mean, he's a good short game guy, so he might
Yeah.
be like 80-1 or something. But
Mm,
it's like what was Kepka's number last year? Because like we both bet it. Like was he
well,
was he 50?
Kepka was
Was
for
he
the mat
50
for what? For the Masters or for the PGA?
for the Masters?
I
The
couldn't tell you.
the Masters, dude.
I'd probably say
Actually
around
I
50.
can look it up. But I remember like to put myself out there. I remember us texting and you were like, Kepka is like this number. And I said, dude, there's like no chance he wins. And then he almost
Yeah.
did it. So I'm just blasting myself, but
Sounds about
I
right.
have the number.
Yeah.
It's
What is
I
it?
have because um 44 I got that.
It was more. It was closer to
I
50. I know
think you
that.
got you definitely got a better number than me.
Yeah. Hmm.
I do remember that. Hovland was 46 when I had it.
Hmm.
A Cam Smith too. Cam Smith has played well. um, and stuff. So I think it'll be really interesting. It's you know, I think this is my third year putting my name into like, the lottery and not getting it. So at some
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
we're
We'll never
gonna,
get it. We'll never get it.
yeah, you have to like know someone or get like invited. So
Or just have a couple
and
thousand
stuff.
dollars in the trust that StubHub will give you a legitimate ticket. That's the other alternative too.
Yeah, uh, or we be cool enough to get a pass, a credential pass.
Let's do it.
Which
Let's do it. That's
yeah,
easy.
you just have to
Oh,
be
hey,
very pro.
hey, no, we'll apply for a media pass for all the majors this year and get promptly denied. But hey, we can still apply for it, right? Let's
I
do it.
mean,
I'll
you
do
gotta
it. I'll
shoot.
sign us
I
up.
mean,
Yeah.
you know, Wayne Gretzky said, and
Oh gosh.
Michael Scott, you try to keep shooting, basically. So yeah, I think I hope we get like a tight finish and we get some sunny skies. Because the
Yeah.
last couple of years have not been the greatest weather. So we move on to May. Masters in April. So May is the PGA Championship. Do you want to kind of go through what we have written down, or it doesn't really matter if you want me to do it?
I'll take it. Ludwig is 30 to 1. It's just this recency bias is just absurd. But yeah, so PGA Championship is located in Valhalla Country Club right outside of Louisville, Kentucky. Last time that it hosted a event was the 2014 PGA Championship, famously won by Roy McIlroy. For any of you out there who played, what was it, Roy McIlroy PGA Tour, the Xbox game? I'm pretty sure him holding the trophy is like one of the loading screens on
Oh
there
yeah,
in
and like the
2014.
in that
Hmm.
purple shirt, was it purple shirt?
Yep, you got it. Correct. Yeah, he won at 16 under. Very competitive event with Phil at 15 under. Then you have Ricky Fowler and Henrik Stenson, two back at 14 under. And it's just fun looking at like the prize money. 1.8 million was given out to Rory in 2014. And when are we going to push 3 million this year? Something like that. So
Yeah,
kind of crazy to see in a decade it's a $1.2 million increase, albeit you have to adjust for inflation. But geez, Ryan Palmer and Jim Furyk tied for fifth. That's a fun one. Hunter Mahan's still on here. I wish they would produce Golf Boys 3.0 because the entire world would be cured if they would do that. If you know, you know. But yeah, back to the course. A lot of changes coming in this year. The tournament director Ryan, gosh, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Ogle,
Olgi, Ogle. Okay,
Ogle
yeah,
maybe
that
Ogle.
sounds a
Yeah,
lot better. Yeah. Olge. Ogle. Sure. Why not? We'll go with it.
yeah,
Yeah, he stated that you're going to see a faster golf course, more challenging than back in 2014 when again 16 under won it, and that was with lesser technology. So if you played that course in today, that number would probably be in the low 20s. So some of the runoffs that they had, either around the greens, back, front, left, right, whatever you say, they're going to be more firm, creating more troubles for the players and a lot more fun, fanfare. So yeah, it should be a very interesting event coming into it. One of the key statistics that we have highlighted would be a good comparison to Oak Hill, where you need to be great off the tee. A lot of trees, a lot of bent grass. Just kind of hit the ball straight, hit it on the green, and you're going to do pretty well here. So you kind of want to look at, yeah, I don't want to say you want to eliminate because eliminate's never a good word so far out, but someone who can't consistently hit fairways, again, it's not one of those things where like this, we don't know what the rough will be grown to, but it's not going to be like overly penile if you miss the fairway. But with trees and various obstacles, hitting the fairway on the surface seems like a very important, uh, what's the word? Task, I guess. I don't know why I thought that
yeah,
was the first word, but very important task. And then obviously being elite with your irons, but to win a golf tournament, you always need to be elite. So, yeah, the course favors players who do hit a fade, but I don't read into that much. These players are the top players in the world. They can hit a draw, they can hit a fade. If I was playing at that tournament, I would, yeah, it it would affect the amateurs more than the professionals because they can do every ball flight you could ever think of. Us amateurs out here, we just try to hit the ball and make it go forward. So, yeah, I guess that is a short preview. I guess, Josh, who do you have winning the 2024 PGA Championship?
Well, before we go into that, John Rahm can't hit a draw, so um, like I think he jokes with like the media that like he can't hit like a draw, but this is also where Tiger won in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the Tiger Slams he won. I think just like some storylines is that Rory will have the storyline, him and
Mm-hmm.
JT. So JT's from Kentucky, so you know we'll see the like JT and Spieth are here like a month, they'll probably play a couple of times beforehand. They'll get some baby pictures of him probably like playing here when he's like 10. So like we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna get that storyline, a Roy storyline. Well, it's every tournament at this point. So he's won here. I think this is probably one of my in our lifetime one of my favorite ones that I PGA in 2014 I could remember because they were battling with sunlight and
Mm-hmm.
they had was it Ricky and Rory played through, and Phil was really mad about that. And then Phil was chipping, and he had to basically make the chip to force a playoff, and he just missed. He gave it a great run at it. So I thought that was probably like an underrated finish we have in our sport the last 10 plus years. So I so I think this course has a lot of history. However, the course, as you said, is completely different. Maybe not completely, but it's not going to look like the same golf course as in 2014 because also the players play a different style now. So it's I think what I read that's very similar to Oak Hill, as you said. So it's going to be drive it straight. If you can't, you're going to probably struggle out of the rough. So it's probably a bomber's course, that kind of the game, that we have. So, I'll give my prediction to win. We talked about this name before. Ethan predicted him for the Masters, but, I think Victor Hovland, I think this is a perfect course for him. I think he has built the scar tissue the last couple of years being in contention at the PGA and he was a freshman leader at the Masters, I believe. So I think
Yeah.
he's built that scar tissue. And I think he's a different player. So where Holland ranked last year in strokes gained off the tee 8th, approach 11th, and then tee to green is 5th. So if you're looking at tee to green numbers, he's arguably the best, second best, third best, however you want to say. This course is going to challenge the long iron players. So Hovland ranks between 150 and 175 approach shots. Third on tour, 175 to 200, 11th, and then 200 to 225 is 7th. So elite driver, elite iron player. I think it's too perfect, honestly. And which kind of scares me. I think after Memorial when he won, I have like a plus 23, plus 2200 ticket on him. So, which is looking good based off odds. Who knows what can happen until May, but when you bet Hovland, you don't take him at, a birdie fest course. You take him at hard challenging golf courses where he can use his driver as a huge advantage. And so that's my pick. If you look at comp courses to go back to, Muirfield Village is one, and the players that I have seen and read other people compare Valhalla to. Hovland won the Memorial last year, and he has played well at the players. So the stars are aligning for it. It might be too good to be true. I think everyone is going to be on Hovland. That's my worry and popular opinion. That's my pick. I had to stamp it. He'll probably be my pick in May. And hopefully we can cash another Hovland ticket because he was the guy that kind of, made a lot of, or not a lot, but a decent amount of change on. I'll say that.
Hmm. Yeah, that's definitely a good one. I don't know if he goes back to back majors, so probably one of us is wrong, but hopefully it's you, not me. But going into my pick, I've kind of been flip flopping with three people. I'll firstly state who I think wins, and then who I think would be like pick like B and C. Um, I don't love the number on him. I think it's a little bit too short, but then again, just the name value and who this player is makes the price always short. I think Roy repeats this year, repeats winning at Valhalla. I think that this is finally the time that he can put together a complete tournament. Showed in the past what he can do at the course. The perennial best driver of the golf ball on the face of the planet for the past 10 to 15 years. I wouldn't necessarily call him like this overly elite iron player, but can be very streaky good. The putter will always be the biggest downfall of his outcome of a tournament, but I think that again there'll be a lot of pressure on him basically until Liv goes away. I think that outside of the Masters, this is the second best setup in all four majors for him course wise. So he'd be my pick. I don't love 10-1. I think that's a little bit short. I was hoping for like a 12-14, but maybe we can, get that between now and May. When talking about like B and C, um, just basing purely off of good drivers of the golf ball and elite iron players, you could throw Scotty Scheffler or Morikawa out there. If we're talking about Rory being too short at 10-1, I am never going to bet Scotty at 8-1, 5 months away from or 6 months away from the tournament.
Yeah.
So that was an easy like cutoff. He fits the profile of someone who would play well here. I mean, again, one of the best iron players out there, and then right behind him would be Morikawa, who is showing a lot more consistency with his putter, with his around the green game, and obviously he is a poor man's Victor Hovland with the irons and the driver. So those would be like the three that I'd target, but the winner of the group and the winner of that tournament, the PGA Championship, would be Rory McIlroy for me. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean that will probably be I'll say a popular pick,
it's going to be
but
too
there's right no,
popular. That's the
but
issue.
there's no. So if you're thinking about taking our advice, take our advice and don't bet like the top three guys to win because it's going to be like the same number. So
Mm-hmm.
like there's no reason to take it now. Like I got Hovland at 22 and I was like he's not going to be 22. He's going to be like I think he's like 15, 14 now.
For what PGA?
PGA, yeah. I think it's
14.
15, 14. So, I'm getting something there. But yeah, I think we've seen the last couple of years. I think last year Rory didn't play that well at Oak Hill, and he still finished pretty high. It's just because he's just that
Mm-hmm.
good of a driver. I want to talk about one name or two names. One I'll talk about here now because we're talking about the PGA. It's actually one of my bold predictions. Is that I think Bryson contends at the PGA.
Hmm.
I think he the the golf I've seen him play on YouTube. It's funny to say, but he played a match with Garrett Clark, and
Mm-hmm.
I've read what Garrett asked him. I think he asked him about his chipping, like what kind of rough or a runoff or like what kind of like grass he likes to chip out of. There's one type of grass he can't chip out of, but the one that he said was like Kentucky rough or something that he's like really good at like chipping out of, and I was like, huh, okay. He says that on camera. He's one of the best drivers that we have. I think he's playing. I mean, he contended at the PGA last year, so I don't know like what his numbers at, but I think he could really do some damage on Live. I think he cares a ton about these like majors. Obviously, he's a golf nerd. I think that this is I hope he doesn't play well at like the Masters, so his odds will be more in my favor. But that's my bold prediction is that he's gonna be right there in the a mix, and I think it's gonna be pretty exciting when he does. But before we conclude talking about like the majors, what's your state of the union on Max Homa? with the majors because I'm looking at the odds board. He's like plus 4,000 for like all of these tournaments right now. So he has struggled. His best was I forget what his best major finish. Maybe it was at the Masters this year. But like, what do we do with Max Homa?
I'll throw this out there before I dive into Homa. Tiger
Yeah,
Woods is 100 to 1 to win at the PGA. Again, I don't think he'll win, but that number, like Phil, will be bet down into the 70s or even shorter,
yeah.
maybe even the 60s, just purely based off of name recognition because he's Tiger Woods, of course. But if you want, I'm probably after we're done gonna just put like $2 on it. That is a I don't want to say it's not a great bet. Don't get me wrong, but just purely off of the numbers, that thing is going to cut in half very quickly,
hmm
and it'll be a refund if he doesn't play. So there's really no harm in betting it now. You could probably even cash out for a little bit of a profit, like early on in the first day of the tournament. So, but back to your question, just at that number, home is still bettable. 35. He's 35 at the PGA right now. He is. Let me give you a fun stat or a fun bet about Homa that I just saw. Let me pull it back up. Um, Max Homa to win a major in 2024. What do you think it is on DraftKings for him to win one of the four majors or more? It's a stupid price, but what do you think it is?
Plus 800.
Plus 450. So you could take if you were to put $20 on Homa to win a major in 2024. Take five of those dollars, put five on him to win the
Yeah,
Masters, five to win the PGA, five to win the Open and the US Open. You'd like make 10 extra profit. It's insane. These bets just to win a major. Rory to win a major in 2024, yes, plus 125. Scotty Scheffler to win a major, yes, even money. Who bets this? Like, those are
not
such gimme
sharps like
bets.
us.
Well, no,
They're
I
just
mean,
fun
like,
bets, but like people don't
they're
understand.
not even fun. They're horrible. Victor Hovland to win, yes, plus 250. Again, just take the
Yeah,
bets,
you can't
divide it
take
by
it.
four, and you're going to make
Yeah,
more money. Like, but back to the Homo question, just purely based off of the number, he just seems bettable in all of them. What's
yeah.
his number at the Masters? At the Masters, he is 22. I wouldn't bet him at 22 at the Masters, but 35 at the PGA is fine.
He's 22 at
At
the
the US
Masters.
Open, he is 22. At the
Dude,
US Open, he's 35. That's good. And then at the Open, he is 35. Why
wait,
the heck is he 22 at the
wait,
Masters?
wait,
I
wait,
guess
wait,
because of
wait,
the
wait,
field.
wait. What book are you on?
DraftKings.
I tweeted out last week. I don't know if you saw. I was
Yeah.
writing this preview at the airport when my flight was delayed in 2 hours. I was like, all right, let me just write this down. Um, I Homer was 40. He was 41 on FanDuel. Let's see what he's at now. Yeah, he's still
Let
plus
me look it up
41.
because on DraftKings,
So
he's
don't.
22?
He's plus 4,100 on FanDuel
22 on DraftKings? That's
for the
insane.
Masters.
So, more of the story for
Yeah,
everyone out there, how you should always bet golf, and this is how you always should do it. You should always line shop. There will always be DraftKings will have worse odds on player X. FanDuel has better on player X. I'm not saying like it's always DraftKings is worse, FanDuel better. It changes all the time. There are always examples of you can get two, three, 400 cents or points, whatever you want to call it, whatever your term of choice is on outrights. Always line shop because there are definitely discrepancies.
Do you have any other?
22.
Do you have any other strategies? Like, do you have like a formal strategy? Like, all right, I
Betting on it.
have like, yeah, well, yeah, like you have like $10, and you're like, all right, I'll distribute here, here, and here, and try to make like 7 times like my money, no matter if I get a winner right, or are you just
Yeah.
like, I'll just put a couple guys who I like. Um,
The first one. So the important thing about when you're betting golf is you never want to look at you have to make stances, you have to make choices, you
yeah,
have to make pivots. The thing why golf is the hardest sport to bet, in my opinion, and I think yours as well, and probably the people who bet it, you see why, is not only because your player any given week outside of the Masters or an elevated event has to beat 156 players or 155 players, is you look at like the top, like you look at just the three favorites for the Masters: Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm, Rory McIlroy. If you bet three of them, you put $10 on it. that's not gonna, your
Yeah,
return is just so diminished. So when you go about betting,
absolutely.
you need to break it into tiers, right? You take, like, I don't know, the first five favorites, you pick one. You go down the next 10, you pick two. You go down the next three, you pick three. You pick more from the bottom half because they'll make you more money. But you need to make pivots, you need to make stances, because if you say, hey, oh, I got to bet Scotty, I got to bet John, I got to bet Rory. Well, congratulations if one of them wins. And it's very difficult to hit it out, right? If one of them wins, you're going to make 10, $20 if you put 10 on them, again, because that's assuming you bet other people and, just put 10 on John Rahm and he magically wins. But just kind of deviate away from the favorites. They really don't win as often as possible is the best way to put it. You always want to target that, like, mid tier, like I say mid tier is like 20 to 45 to 1 around there. Usually that
Yeah,
25 to 35 range wins pretty regularly.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
I'm just looking at odds. Like, yeah. There's definitely the Hovland's plus 1,500 to win the Masters on
mhm.
FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's plus 1,000. So
It's crazy.
you can't bet those guys, but yeah. I mean, I have one rule. It's a it's a heart rule, but I bet Spieth to win at every major. So,
Okay,
but
that'll
that's
do it.
my kind of thing. I'm not gonna miss out on his next Masters. I might stop that at like the PGA or like the U.S. Open. I just think that
No, no,
the style of
you
his
can't you
golf.
can't stop it. You can't stop it until he wins again, because the one time you stop it, he's gonna win.
Yeah,
You can't stop it. You can't stop it.
that's what
No
I
way.
did with That's what I did with Hovland. I was like, dude, like
Hmm.
Hovland's gonna win a tournament, and then I took, of how that happened. So maybe like I think I have too many like heart guys like Fowler, JT, Speed. I'll put like a couple of bucks, not even.
Hmm.
It's just like $1 or $2, for fun, just to say that I have like $1, for fun.
Hmm.
But yeah, definitely like the units and stuff is if you like take it seriously and you like want to try to make money or have a system to not go crazy, because at a major, like, you see the storylines and narratives and all this stuff, and you just get hungry to just keep clicking. I mean, it happens to all of us, but that's a good way to do it. I don't do it as officially, but I definitely keep in mind, like, you can't take Rory and Rom as you said, like, that's just not how it
Hmm.
works, unless you're doing it for fun. Like, if you want to put $5 on both of them, be my guest. So I think that wraps up part one. Part two, we have the U.S. Open at Pinehurst number 2, which will be interesting. And then we have the Open at Royal Troon, which is famously for Henrik Stenson beating Phil in probably one of the best
Hmm.
duels we have in
I've
golf
ever seen.
in a major. So that kind of wraps it up. I think I have some bold predictions. I already told a bold prediction about Bryson, but I have a couple more that might make some people unhappy.
I guess you gotta wait till part two to hear those predictions. So yeah, I guess that'll wrap it up. As Josh said, for part one. Look for part two to continue this predictions for 2024. And yeah, we'll see everyone there.